Playing Pokemon games as a kid, I can't really remember ever using the XP share. Partly because I'd slammed through Pokemon Silver with Typhlosion alone, and partly because I was probably quite dumb and never sought it out. So even when I got past the phase of ploughing through the games with just my starter, from what I remember, I just used to grit my teeth and train Pokemon up individually. The XP share was never a big part of my Pokemon game experience. Nowadays though, you can't escape it. What used to be an optional held item that gave one Pokemon in your party a share of the XP from each battle has become a baked-in mechanic that evenly distributes XP to your entire party, and you cannot switch it off. And understandably, people have some opinions on that. So actually, just for fun, I recently went all the way back and played through Pokemon Blue again. And when you do that, it really highlights just how streamlined the games have become over the years. Because it used to take me at the very least a few weeks to beat the older games as a kid. And the newer games can be beaten in, 3 or 4 days, you could argue? And a lot of it comes down to the fact that grinding has just outright been removed from Pokemon. Leveling Pokemon up nowadays is as easy as simply having them in your party. You can simultaneously level multiple Pokemon from 1 to 100 fairly quickly without ever using them in battle. And a lot of people really don't like that. You hear a lot of people saying things like, it's making the game too easy. It's removing the feeling of reward. It cheapens the relationship you have with the Pokemon in your party. And on the other hand, you've got players that prefer the more streamlined nature of the newer games, because they always found the grinding element of Pokemon games boring and monotonous. Which is equally understandable. It is a chore to manually level up each Pokemon. So after playing both the newest games and the oldest games recently, I can say that I think the XP share is a good thing, sort of. There's the video title. So I mentioned before that the XP share wasn't a huge part of the game for me as a kid because I often just wouldn't find it in the games, and that was particularly true with Gen 1. In Pokemon Red, Blue and Yellow, I had no idea the XP share even existed. I never happened across it. But after playing Pokemon Blue again, I realised that there is one, and actually it's closer to the newer XP share than the XP share in any other mainline game. In Gen 1, it isn't called the XP share, it's called the XP All, and that's because it gives experience to all of your Pokemon. But it's a much tamer version compared to newer games. The way it works is that it distributes half of the experience to all the Pokemon that have actually been used in the battle, and then splits the other half evenly across the rest of your team. So it gives idle Pokemon far less experience than the newer games. I think that that's a nice middle ground, and I really enjoyed playing with it. It gave my Pokemon a little bit of a boost for being in my party, but not so much that I wouldn't have to train them a little bit myself. And given the choice, that version of the XP share is what I'd probably choose to play with going forward. Because I think players should get a choice. I do think there should be difficulty levels to Pokemon games, but I wouldn't do it in the form of traditional difficulty levels. I'd just implement a few different XP share options into the settings menu. What I'd propose is an easy mode with the newest XP share mechanics, a medium mode with the Gen 1 style XP All mechanics, and a hard mode with no XP share by default, with the option to just use the single Pokemon held item XP share if you want. Have it as an item you receive from the professor at the start of the game or something. Would that take a lot of extra time to implement? Probably not that much. Then again, I'm not a game developer, I don't know. But with this idea, you wouldn't have to change the levels of AI trainers Pokemon, which is something I hear a lot of people talking about, level scaling depending on difficulty level. This would take substantially less work than that. The whole point here is adding an optional extra challenge back into the game by reintroducing the need to grind, as much or as little as the player likes. The problem isn't that the XP share exists, it never was. It's that it can't be switched off, something you used to be able to do. So I think it's a good thing, sort of, in the sense that it removes the tedious grinding that many modern day players wouldn't put up with, while also recognising that it's taken a fair bit of control out of players' hands in doing so. I personally like to take my time playing through games. With Pokemon, I like to explore and immerse myself and form attachments with the Pokemon in my team. But playing through Pokemon Blue again was a challenge, and I've got to say that I found grinding the traditional way quite a bit more frustrating than I used to back in the day. I personally wouldn't want to go back to that with newer games. But the whole thing comes down to how you like to play your games, which is why I think there should be a choice. This is a conversation that's come up a lot in recent years, and I'd love to hear your opinions on it, so please do drop any thoughts you may have down in the comments. I'd be really interested to hear what you think. Give the video a like if you want, subscribe for more Pokemon videos, and follow me on Twitch if you'd like to hang out when I go live. Thanks so much for watching, that's all from me, and I will catch you all in the next one.